Montessori Minutes. I'm Miss Julie. I'm so glad you found this video. Please take a second to like and subscribe so you'll see more videos like this. Today we're going to take a few minutes to talk about this question many people have, even sometimes people still have it once their child is enrolled, and that is, can the children do whatever they want in a Montessori classroom? And often this perception is based on something they've heard from a person who's never set foot in a Montessori classroom. And they think it's this place where anything goes and it's just a free-for-all. And that is not the case. So we have what we call freedom within limits. That's the Montessori catchphrase of our approach to active discipline. So active discipline refers to the child being master of himself and making good choices and following the rules to the best of their capability. And this happens when rules, and in the toddler environment, we don't even use the word rule with them. They're still learning what is this? What do? We just tell them, like, oh, here we can walk or march or tiptoe. We save running for outside. So that's a rule, but we don't say, do it because it's a rule. We set a clear expectation. So children can discipline themselves when the rules are clear, when they're followed by the adults in the classroom or at home, and when they're consistently applied. Adults following the rule would look like, we don't shout through the house, right? We walk to a person when we want to talk to them. I recommend you do that young, because it can really get old by the time they're teenagers. That means the adult's going to walk to the child too, right? Because you can say this is expectation to your child all day long, but if you're not doing it, guess what? More is caught than taught. So model that. Those are the three things a child needs to be able to have active discipline. And in the Montessori toddler community, we have freedom within limits. And why do we do this? Because we want children to be engaging in active discipline where they are able to follow rules that they agree to because they see how they benefit the community. That's what we want. We don't want children who will be blindly obedient. That's not good for the human as an individual, and it's not good for citizens of a democratic society. Okay, so that's why. Also why is boundaries make a child feel safe. And there have been many studies, Google away, that show that a literal boundary, like a fence in a wide open area, children will explore more when they can see the end of the area that is available to them versus if they don't know where the boundary is. And boundaries also make the child feel safer because they're young. They don't have all the information they need. They are still very dependent on the adult for setting up the environment and for setting boundaries because they're exploring what is possible. And it's our job, it's our duty to teach them the boundaries in the society and the time and place they are born into. It feels bad, really, for a toddler to be able to do whatever they want, to think that their behavior has no limits. So, examples of how that works in the Montessori classroom. Dr. Montessori explained that the limits of the child's behavior should be the interest of the group to which the child belongs. What does that look like in a classroom? It means that the child's behavior is going to hurt someone, if the child's behavior is going to destroy property, if the child's behavior is going to hurt someone's feelings, offend someone, then there's a limit. That's the limit. Any of those things are not allowed in a Montessori classroom. and hopefully not things you'd want to tolerate in your home either, I trust. Probably from this video, that's true. So in a Montessori classroom, once you've had a lesson, you may choose that work. Now in a toddler classroom, some materials don't really have a formal lesson. But generally, in a Montessori classroom, once you've had a lesson, you may choose that work whenever it is on a shelf and you know it's available. And you may take that work wherever is appropriate in the classroom. And you may work on it for as long as you like. So that is a big freedom for the child to be able to follow their inner teacher that's telling them, right now, everything's prime for you to go and practice cutting. The other day, I had someone sitting 20 minutes practicing cutting for so long because her inner teacher was telling her, practice cutting. That child should be doing right then, not tracing an elephant, because I'm in the mood for everyone to trace an elephant, right? Anyway, that's another video maybe. But so that's a great freedom to be able to choose that work that's developmentally appropriate and that you're passionate about at that moment, so that you will have the perseverance to practice. They may do cutting at a regular work table, or they may take a small, low work table and they may sit on the floor and cut. They may not just sit on the rug and cut. That is a limit we have in place so that it's very easy to keep an eye on the child and know exactly where they're stationed when they have scissors, because we don't want anyone getting a haircut they didn't sign up for, right? Very rare, but has happened. A child may work with material for as long as they want to during the work period. They may not decide they want to and take the work away from a friend. That's a time limit. They have to wait till the work's available and put back on a shelf. We have a freedom that you may choose to make prepare your own fruit snack during the time that it's available. So that gets cut off about 15-20 minutes before we're going to have lunch. There is a time limit to when they can prepare a snack. There's also limits of how many people at a time. And so in our classroom, we do that by they're actually preparing the food, slicing a banana, plucking grapes, making orange juice. So limit is how many at a time can do it, and they have to wear an apron. Another limit is they have to wash their hands. The limit, so to speak, or part of the work is you have to clean up at yourself. So limits aren't just what you can't do. Sometimes that's what we think of as what you can't do, but it's also how things are done. There is a phrase that Dr. Montessori repeated in probably every book she wrote. I don't know. If you know, comment below. But Montessori frequently said in her speeches and the book she wrote and is really emphasized in Montessori training is respect all forms of activity and seek to understand it. And unfortunately, this is misconstrued as accept all forms of activity. That is not what she said. She said respect it, okay? So if you find your child has gotten under the sink and found the bottle of dishwashing soap and squirted it all over the kitchen floor, maybe based on a true story with one of my children, you still stop them, right? Because it's a waste of the dish soap and it's making an undue mess that probably they're not going to, if they're, say, 1.5-year-old, be able to really clean up completely, although they definitely should help. So that's just more work that is not fair to you. You can respect what they're doing. You can go, oh, you know, what are they loving about that? Are they loving the squeezing? Are they loving the smell of that? Are they loving playing with it? You can respect it and still set a limit on no, not what we do with dish soap. And maybe, you know, like, oh, you know, maybe we'll do some squishy play because they're wanting that sensorial. Or maybe we'll explore the smells of spice, you know, in the cupboard while I'm cooking this evening, you know, because they're really into scent. Or maybe you know, get some squeezy toys for the bath. So you can respect it and should respect all forms of activity and seek to understand it. That doesn't mean you condone or allow it. So be careful when you're following the child and respecting all forms of activity, that you're not making their It's so lame that they're creating chaos for everyone in the environment. So another thing I have heard about freedom within limits is that it limits creativity. That's not what we're talking about at all. Children have so many opportunities through their play and their art choices and storytelling and on, all, throughout 8th grade in a Montessori classroom. It's amazing. Telling them they can't paint on the back of the cubbies or the back of their friend's head doesn't limit creativity. It limits offending the child that they're painting on and ruining property. The limits are there for the child's own safety in a Montessori classroom, but also for the good of the community, because guess what? Children make friends when they do what's good for the community. People don't tend to like the people that are destroying classroom materials or, hitting people or eating all of the bananas so there's none left for everybody else, right? So in addition to providing security for the child and setting them up for success at being a citizen in a democracy that can make choices that are good for the community, it also just helps the child, make friends, like true friends that like them and respect them. So I hope that helps you understand how we set limits and why we set the limits we do, and how that helps the child as an individual and helps the world right now and in the future. Thanks for watching. If you watched to the end, I'm hoping it means you liked this video. And if you did, please do go ahead and click on like. It really does help support this channel and lets other people find this information. Thanks for watching. This video was filmed before a live audience.